is why I've like disappeared from making videos, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, Shinra, we miss you, Shinra, we miss you. Why haven't you been entertaining us as much as usual?" Don't worry, people. For a short time off, I'm back. The reason why I haven't been making videos is because school. So in a few days, weeks, I will be back. I'll be in my prime again, and I'll be locked in completely. But today we'll be going over 5 most overrated debaters that I've ever encountered. Why am I doing this? I don't know. It's not going to be having like any personal vendetta because they're like some people on this tier list who I really like, you know. But most of them just, I think they gain too, or they have like way too high reputation compared to their skill level. For example, you see people like hype up Aeroflame, but why would you ever listen to Aeroflame about anything? That guy lost to like Valor Naruto, so why would you ever listen to that guy? But starting off with Aeroflame specifically, because Aeroflame kind of sucks. I'm not gonna lie. Because the thing is, Airflame seems to just be carried by his rhetoric. Like, nobody's going to take this away from him. The fact that his like rhetoric's really good. However, in this current community at least, or at least how I value it, most people should rather care about the argumentation that you have compared to your rhetoric. So even if Airflame, he has this like little strategy of don't cut me off, don't cut me off. Most of the time whenever he debates people, he loses argumentatively. However, he quote unquote wins because of his rhetoric. But the issue is, most of the debates, if you actually listen, there are few instances of Error actually argumentatively dominating his opponent. And most of the time, whenever he's speaking to people, he goes through the usual script. It should be, oh, don't cut me off, don't cut me off. But even if they do cut him off, or even if they don't, still, when you take turns, if you realize your lack of substance becomes readily apparent. Because now you can't play optics towards the crowd, you can't like be appealing. Instead, all you have is just you're speaking to the VC, you're speaking to everyone else there, and your lack of argumentative ability and your lack of knowledge becomes readily apparent. So for example, whenever I heard debate 6 on whether or not he should be white coat, he got absolutely dog walked, and the reason why he did is specifically because 6 literally took him into the deep water. 6 took him into the place where normally he wouldn't go. Because normally whenever he's debating people, he goes through the don't cut me off, and then he speaks for an extremely long time. He basically filibusters, right? And immediately he couldn't do that against 6 because 6 was like kind of pressing him on the fact that he kind of has nothing putting him above 6. For example, you're like, why is beating that absolute dummy Gray on abortion gonna be a good thing? Gray sucks. And it's like, he loses all of his reputation and he loses all of his skill factor. Immediately you realize that he actually has just terrible argumentation. Now, most people try to hype the guy up because yes, he does have good rhetoric, and you may think that like his argumentation makes his or his rhetoric makes his argumentation look better. But if you take time, you re-listen to that recording, you realize that what he's saying actually is kind of stupid. And loads of debaters right now, they seem to have moved away from this archetype of, oh, I'm going to be rhetoric heavy rather than argumentation heavy. However, there are still some people, some relics of the old community who have failed to adapt. And though they may indeed get judgment, most of the time nobody really cares about judgments anymore because, of course, it's just another person's opinion. So if everyone else disagrees with their opinion and they're the only one who holds the opinion, then they're probably wrong. So then there's also Jester. Now, I've had my fair share of experiences against Jester. He agreed to like do very horrendous stuff to me if it was for the sake of saving the world, and he was like, yeah, I'll do it with a smile on my face. He agrees to like clear reductives, and what he does is he tries to rhetoric his way out of it. But it's not only that. You can see that he lacks knowledge on most of the topics that he talks about, especially when he does this thing when he continuously tries to cut his opponent off. It's like, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. But immediately the other person has like a louder mic than him. Then he kind of folds and kind of asks for moderation. So it seems like to me that his rhetoric archetype just doesn't really work against people who he's not louder than. And when he is louder than the person, he loses all of the wants to be cordial like he does against people with louder mics than him. So basically what he's doing is he's punching down. He's punching down against people who have like less loud mics than him. Most of the time when he's debating people, he doesn't actually want moderation. He denies it most of the time. And it's because he falls into the error archetype too. Now, Jester does it better than like Error does. Error has no argumentation, Jester has some argumentation. And even though before in the past I would have lost to him, when you actually like think and be like, wait a second, what he's saying is stupid, you then realize that you like it's so easy to beat him. I've heard that people like Mono are beating him, and Mono sucks. Mono's like bottom of the barrel. So even though I doubt that, the fact that rumors like that are still going around about him, still just are implicative of the fact that not only is he lost all of his aura, quote unquote, that he used to have before, he's also lost like the kind of fear factor, because people used to be afraid of D1. How are people afraid of D1? And you then realize that, oh, there's nothing to be afraid of. Not only does he not have his loud mic anymore, which was terrible at best, but also you realize that once you actually debate the guy, he's bad. But this is a video about D1 because nobody rates D1. So the next person on the list, sadly, is going to be No Luck. Now, No Luck, he's smart. Don't get me wrong. No Luck is, of all the people I have on this tier list, No Luck is definitely the smartest. But I've heard too much bad stuff to say that he isn't overrated. So the first is, how do you lose argumentatively to Aeroflame? Now, albeit the judges who are like giving off these opinions are people like Tigger, are people like Renji, idiots basically. But still, what I've heard from No Luck is he lost to InSync, and InSync sucks. InSync's like bottom of the barrel debaters, and it's lucky that this list is purely fiction based because InSync would be at the bottom. InSync's like terrible, but this is about him. This is about like No Luck. No Luck, he has good argumentation, good knowledge. However, I think he's one of the better people from that community. Hence why I have him so high on my tier list. But he lacks the rhetoric that people say that he does have. He also just seems to lack any sort of argumentative capability whenever he's talking about a topic that he has no knowledge on. So for example, this is an issue that people in the philosophy community run into. Most of the time, they gain immense amounts of knowledge onto a specific topic, and then they sacrifice all forms of debating capability. So even though they do have more knowledge than other people, so you may say he has better arguments in the sense that he knows more arguments, they still don't actually, they aren't good at arguing. And you'll see this if you ask or challenge, like try this yourself. If you challenge a philosophy debater to a debate on a topic that they have no knowledge about, they will most of the time say no. And the reason being is because even if you gave them an hour to research the topic, they still rely too much on their knowledge to actually become like a parent or actually be good. So in the same way, I think that's what happens to No Luck, where even though he does have good knowledge, and No Luck really isn't rated, right? But I think he's underrated in that community, but he's overrated in this one. In the old community, at least, he was underrated. But in this one, he's like fairly good. I also heard he lost to Jester. Now, that's one of the main reasons why I think that he's not as good as most people say he is. Specifically because they say he lost to Jester, and it's like, why would anyone ever lose to that guy? Especially No Luck, who I hold such a high opinion of. It seems to not make sense to me. If there's any like recordings that I can see of No Luck that prove me wrong, I'm completely fine with being proven wrong. But until then he's part of the list. Then we have Unique Palmer Tessema, also known as Gios. Now, Gios, he's had a wild ride. I know he beat Jester, or the word of the street was that he was beating on Jester for like 6 hours, and then he only lost because of a technicality. But he has gone on such a downfall. So in the past, people thought that he beat Detroyer. Now, even though they think he beat Detroyer, that debate is very highly contextual, because not only is Detroit just like not like believe demand is a material, but also the debate is heavily contextual. Like, I'm pretty sure Detroit apparently beat him before that. Also, people like to say, oh, Gios in his prime. if he's done so many debates while he's out of his prime, and most of the recent debates that he's had have been him losing to people who are really bad, you can't just keep holding on to this fictional idea of prime Gias, because maybe he never had a prime. Maybe the Troya just had a bad performance. Like, does that also not seem plausible to some of the people who hype him up? Now, Gias also has some other performances, but nobody really ranks him off of those. They only rank him off of the Detroit thing, and there's a specific reason, and it's because Detroit is really good. And even though Detroit is really good, still he can still underperform. He's still a human, right? So I don't understand what this like fictional idea of, oh yeah, Gias is just the best in the community when he's in his prime came from. He also like lost to Frosty, and Frosty's just a better Z killer. So I don't even know why like anyone would even consider, like, they throw out all of his other losses which are around that same time period and focus on one debate. And it's like, if that happened to me, if I beat who is considered really good, if I beat Mason, if I beat like Seth, if I beat Trini, or if I beat Haikyuu in one debate, and every other debate I had I lost, people wouldn't rank me off of that one debate that I had and say that's prime Shinra. People would rank me off of the consistency. So I don't understand why people don't rank Gias off of the consistency. He seemed overrated to me. Also, he lacks in knowledge. The only thing that he has on his side is question begging. That's literally all he says. He's like, oh, you're begging your question. You're begging the question. You're begging the question. And he tries to do this one thing where if he thinks that you made more than 1 point, he's just going to start like being, oh my goodness, you're shotgunning. But he doesn't actually know what shotgun is. See, this is the Gias move. He will debate you on everything that is not the topic. So let's say we're debating JJK. I say, well, Yuji beat Mahito and he beat Chosun while Manta nerfed. He's not only going to say you're shotgunning, and then the thing that most of his opponents do is they try and argue with him about whether or not they actually did the thing. But the issue is, it doesn't matter. You can bring up the point later. So Gias tries to lure you into arguing about meta debate rather than arguing about the actual topic, because he lacks substance and he can't actually hold anyone or anything that they actually know about. So that's another bad thing about Gias. I don't know why people choose to ignore this whenever they're speaking of him. I don't know why people choose to ignore this whenever they're like debating him, but to each their own, of course. Like, nobody really cares. People just still rank him high anyway, but at least that's my like third piece. And then there's, oh my goodness, he might be the most overrated on this list. Everyone says that he's really good. Nobody, and I challenge anyone who watches this video, nobody can name me a single debate of this guy that isn't privated. Nobody can send me a debate that isn't his debate with Jester. Nobody can actually look me in the eyes and send me a debate of his. And the name is Arcana. Arcana is supposed to be very good, but that isn't what. That's what everyone thinks. Everyone thinks, oh, this guy's like really good. He's really competent, but nobody actually has any like feats to show of it. Who is Arcana beaten? Now you may say, oh, well, but Arcana actually he like carried Infinity in the 2v1. No, he didn't, because I know how Infinity debates. If he thinks he can handle both of the opponents by himself, that's what he's going to do. So whenever he's debating Cynthia and Apollo at the same time, if he doesn't think that he can, like, if he thinks that he can handle Apollo on his own, then he's going to do that, right? So I don't understand whenever people are like, oh, well, he's the best debater, but he kind of has nothing to show for it. Like, okay, he's the best, but also he has no feats. He has like nothing. He has nothing on his side. But I know he teaches people, which is also like a point for him. He teaches loads of people. People think he's good, but who is he even teaching? That's the question. Who is he teaching? And if he is teaching this many people, and he has debated all of his students at least at one point, then why does he have no debates to show for it? It doesn't really make any sense to me. I also know that he has like a really bad judging ability. He's really bad at judging. I've seen him make some really stupid judgments. So if someone can't even be trusted to judge a simple debate, why should I even trust them to say that they're competent? If you get what I mean. Like, all I've seen from him is that he has subpar knowledge on a certain philosophy arguments. But aside from that, he just lacks everything. What does he do that Infinity doesn't? What does he bring to the table that like nobody else does? There won't actually be a straight answer to that, because he doesn't actually bring anything to the table that Infinity doesn't. Because I'm telling you, he's average at best. He has nothing good going for him. And one of the street is that he literally cut off his best friend, or he cut off one of his friends because they said he lost to Dead Boy. So how do you lose to Dead Boy? That is so dumbfounding to me. How do you lose to Dead Boy? He has nothing going for him. But, you know, that's just my opinion. If he has recordings, you can prove me wrong in the comments. That's just my say on that. If you like the video, please remember to like and subscribe. Lock in. Do it. That's it from me.